In a matter, we were able, after a while, to convince the company to see it our way. It was very difficult, difficult process. We proposed an environmental assessment in British Columbia, which was unheard of, because each government, I'm assuming each province has their own assessment process. So in BC, the minister can adopt, go to a process that he thinks set up something individual just for that project, and we asked them to do that. In this case, we said this area is so important to us. It's not that we're against the project. We read the writing on the wall. Economic development is going to trump our rights. But if there's going to be a mine in our area, we want it to be the best environmental mine. We want to be able to be involved in the monitoring. We want to be involved in every aspect of the development of this project. And BC pretty much just said no. They said, thank you for your proposal. Thank you for putting all the work into this, but we have a process in place. You have 180 days to tell us what your comments are and what your concerns are about a project. But other than that, it's already set up, so we're not going to listen to you. And from 2006 to 2009, that was my world. That's what Ella grew up in, is environmental assessment process, trying to review what was going on, what the impact was. And by 2009, the end of 2009, or early 2009, the BC government approved the project. In 2010, November 2nd, 2010. Does anybody know what happened on November 2nd, 2010? That's a day that's going to burn the rest of my life in my brain. Is some of you might have heard of the Prosperity Mine in British Columbia. It's a mine that the federal government denied and said no to, and we were very surprised by that. But in the same press release that went out on that day, they said no to Prosperity, but they said yes to Mount Milligan. Two projects that were, if you look at the scope and the size of them, very similar. Major impacts to fish habitat, and yet they kind of compromised with the industry, saying, well, we're going to say no to this one, but here you go. You could go away with this. And time-wise, am I okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we had to, our community came back together and said, well, we've put all our concerns out there. Nobody is listening to us. We've been told that if you engage a company early, then things will be different. We've been told that if you engage the government early, things will be different and people will listen. And we did, I think, everything we could to put everything on the table and to just be honest and trust in that somebody would listen to us. And then yet here we had a mine approved without any consent from our community. And how the company got around that issue of requiring consent was our neighboring nation to the east of us, who we totally acknowledged was going to be impacted by this project, and that Nakasley felt we really needed to work together. The company went to them and said, well, you know, if you could say yes to this, and you could just end all the discussion that we're having with Nakasley, and we don't have to listen to them anymore, because really it's your territory. And that's what the government did, is just, they said, well, this community is only 68 kilometers away from the mine site, so they're the dominant nation because they're going to be the most impacted. So when I sat at the negotiation table with BC, I had with me, I asked my family and one of the mappers in our office to map out how close our cabins and hunting areas were to the mine site. Our closest cabin was 13 kilometers from the mine site. Other cabins, 20 kilometers, 30, 40, all less than the 68 kilometers of the dominant First Nation. And yet we were totally left out of a process. totally denied any rights to the area. To this day, don't have, you know, you hear about impact benefit agreements with mining companies. We don't have one, but we're directly impacted by this. And the other part of mining that companies and government tend not to talk about is the social impacts that come with mining and the health impacts, and we are seeing that now. We were promised lots of jobs, and we were promised lots of economic opportunities. We've got none of those. And the social impacts and health we're seeing right now. The one thing that is raising, going up in our community is the number of drug dealers, because they say the mine site is drug-free and alcohol-free, but I'm sure if you did a study on the alcohol consumption and the drug use in our community, it has risen dramatically. When you read the research that is out there, the major population that is impacted are Aboriginal women. And the concern I have is I have a 6-year-old daughter, and for 20 years now, so when she's 26, she's going to grow up in a mining town. And if it's Aboriginal women that are mostly impacted, my question is, how do I protect her? And I have 2 daughters, one 11 and one 6. And nobody asks those questions. And so NACASLI was forced to find researchers. I mean, if there's anybody here that is doing their MA or PhD, hey, we're at a university, talk to me. We're looking for researchers. We have a project going on from start to finish of a mine, researching and taking in the data of how this mine is going to impact our town from now until 22 years down the road, and to review those changes. And hopefully what we're hoping for is that if we start seeing deviations or things changing dramatically, that we'll be able to go to the government and say, we need services here because this is the data, this is what we need from you. And we have had to start that. Not the government is not doing that, the company is not doing that. The community of Fort St. James and NACASLI have come together to say this is important to us. And it's not just about jobs and economics, it's about the identity of people. We have the right, my daughter has the right to hunt and fish in the area that I grew up in. And in October of 2010 was the last time her and I, it was her first time going beaver hunting when she was 4. We went to the headwaters where the mine was proposed, and a beautiful area. If I could show you pictures, I would have. And I didn't realize at that time when we were there that was going to be my last time seeing that area. Because when I went back in June of 2011, I tried to go back before that, but they wouldn't let me in. So June of 2011, I finally got back to the same site. And the headwaters was gone, the creek was gone. It was a construction site and they were building a dam. And it was unrecognizable to our family and to us. So to just finish up, it's heartbreaking for me to have to tell you this story because I keep telling my story because I hope that this never has to happen to another community in Canada or elsewhere. And I keep working on this because I think we can do things differently, we can do things better, involving the people that are going to be impacted by resource development. And I think that's where I'll end. I have a lot to say, and yeah.